This is Jury Charge Dictation, Section 1, from the George Zimmerman Trial at 200. Ready? In this case, George Zimmerman is accused of second-degree murder, a killing that is excusable or was committed by the use of justifiable deadly force is lawful. If you find Trayvon Martin was killed by George Zimmerman, you will then consider the circumstances surrounding the killing in deciding if the killing was murder in the second degree or was manslaughter, or whether the killing was excusable or resulted from justifiable use of deadly force. The killing of a human being is justifiable and lawful if necessarily done while resisting an attempt to murder or commit a felony upon George Zimmerman, or to commit a felony in any dwelling house in which George Zimmerman was at the time of the attempted killing. The killing of a human being is excusable and therefore lawful under any one of the three following circumstances. 1. When the killing is committed by accident and misfortune, in doing any lawful act by lawful means, with usual ordinary caution and without any unlawful intent. Or 2. When the killing occurs by accident and misfortune, in the heat of passion, upon any sudden and sufficient provocation. Or 3. When the killing is committed by accident and misfortune, resulting from a sudden combat, if a dangerous weapon is not used and the attempted killing is not done in a cruel and unusual manner. Dangerous weapon is any weapon that, taking into account the manner in which it is used, is likely to produce death or great bodily harm. I now instruct you on the circumstances that must be proved before George Zimmerman may be found guilty of second-degree murder or any lesser crime. To prove the crime of second-degree murder, the state must prove the following three elements beyond a reasonable doubt. 1. Trayvon Martin is dead. 2. The death was caused by the criminal act of George Zimmerman. 3. There was an unlawful killing of Trayvon Martin by an act imminently dangerous to another and demonstrating a depraved mind without regard for human life. An act includes a series of related actions arising from and performed pursuant to a single design or purpose. An act is imminently dangerous to another and demonstrating a depraved mind if it is an act or series of acts that 1. A person of ordinary judgment would know is reasonably certain to kill or do serious bodily injury to another, and 2. Is done from ill will, hatred, spite, or an evil intent, and 3. Is of such a nature that the act itself indicates an indifference to human life. In order to convict of second-degree murder, it is not necessary for the state to prove George Zimmerman had an intent to cause death. If you find that George Zimmerman committed second-degree murder, and you also find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime he discharged a firearm, and in doing so caused great bodily harm to or the death of Trayvon Martin, you should find George Zimmerman guilty of second-degree murder with discharge of a firearm, causing great bodily harm or death. If you find that George Zimmerman committed second-degree murder, and you also find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime he discharged a firearm, you should find George Zimmerman guilty of second-degree murder with discharge of a firearm. If you find that George Zimmerman committed second-degree murder, and you also find beyond a reasonable doubt that during the commission of the crime he actually possessed a firearm, you should find George Zimmerman guilty of second-degree murder with actual possession of a firearm. A firearm is legally defined as any weapon which is designed to, or may readily be converted to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive.